Yeah, man.
I feel like even to a degree, I always have to like, I want to tweet it, but I'm just going to get like destroyed. I feel like for it, but I just feel like if there's a creator that hasn't done anything super deliberately wrong and you like hate them, like look in the mirror because it's on you. You know what I mean? Like, I even feel like people who like spend time sending hate to like James Charles, it's like, what are we, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like, why waste your energy? Make something yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That actually brings up an interesting question that I was one of the things that I was planning to talk about with you on this podcast, Eddie. And that was because I was looking at like your general content and you do a lot of commentary stuff. Like a lot of time you call people out on certain things, but you also do
often.
Yeah. And you also are now sort of leaning towards maybe sort of a video essayist format, at least with your late night talk shows video. So I'm kind of curious, like, what's your thought process behind, oh, this person deserves to be called out in a video versus like, oh, this is just someone I can ignore because they're just going to always be like that, you know?
I would say too, and what's nice, like, I appreciate the question because then sometimes I'll get replies of people being like, you roast people for a job. And it's like, I absolutely don't do that.
Sure. Yeah.
Because there's kind of like a strict code that I went by with every old video when I used to talk about YouTube people. And it was, if there wasn't like if there wasn't a either societal thing where I'm blaming it on that or the direct thing that somebody was doing that I believe that like seemed to be not morally wrong. I would say like morally wrong or sometimes even close to illegal. Like the reason I would usually talk about like Jake or Logan maybe 2 years ago wasn't I didn't even talk about really the like Logan's big thing. It was that it sincerely bothered me how they were like abusing this vlogging format and this like weird like sexual tension for like kids to watch to make this like merch empire. And so it's like they would trick kids into be like, you're watching content, but as like Nerd City broke down, I think, what was it, like 30% of Jake Paul's content was an ad?
The video was just plugging his merch.
Yeah. Right.
Sure.
And so like it was that what I hated about those two is that they had made this machine of kids content where like kids thought they were investing in something, but what they were really doing was like actually investing in their companies.
So not even so much their
realizing
content as kind of the backbone and the strategies behind it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think my I almost feel like a broken record with most videos is most of the time I was talking about something because the audience were kids watching it. So with like prank channels that were like hiring actresses to do gold digger pranks to make like young boys be like, every woman on the street would like say no to me because I'm ugly, but if I pulled up in a Ferrari, she'd jump in and come to my house even though I'm a stranger. And it's like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think my big concern has always been mainly kids content being harmful to like a child's
manipulative
brain.
Yeah. Because I definitely see, as of late, I definitely see that there's sort of a divide, almost a three-way divide in sort of what was previously considered the commentary community, where you now have people, I feel like people like you and me, Eddie, where we make stuff like that's about like maybe like a ridiculous movie or something ridiculous that you
something
can talk about,
care about to talk about that isn't
something
drama.
That's like comedic and it isn't exactly like bringing another person down, but it's still like something, maybe a product that someone made that's ridiculous, where it's not exactly like attacking the person, I guess. And then you've got, you know, the commentary community people where it's like, this person did this thing. Let me talk about it, give my opinion, and talk about it for this long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's some value to that, but I think on my end, and maybe yours, Ted, too, is just like with the amount of commentary I watched before I made it, and then the amount of commentary I watched, like, I feel like I had said what I needed to say about children's content on YouTube. And for the most part, until something new comes along, I just kind of lost interest in it. And I can't make a video that I'm not interested in. So it's like when...
Yeah, I would never want to force it at all.
Right. So like, let's say a 20-year-old...
Because then it's just as disingenuous.
Yeah. Like a 20-year-old content creator says something that's kind of fucked up. I'm not... Personally, I won't make a video because I'm like, I don't really care unless you're like, your audience is a bunch of kids and you just said something blatantly harmful to them, you know?
Exactly. Because once you're over by that sort of commentary, like, let me... like, because it is advantageous because it is always topical. But then you sort of like are falling into that third zone that I'm thinking of, which is pretty much like those single person drama channels, like not exactly like Keemstar. I'm thinking like Kavos and like Scarce, I don't know if you know either of those guys.
I know. I remember Scarce. I don't know who Kavos is.
You don't need to know who Kavos is.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. But yeah, so I just think it's kind of like an interesting world and the way to maneuver, because it's like like our words are like so powerful, and like because we have such an audience, and like even in like the experience that I've had, like there was just one time that I made a video on, I don't know if you know Peter Kane. No, but he made like this video about his raven, that would, and it's very, I mean, I'm pretty confident that he's satirical. But there are, the way that he acts is also potentially he's not satirical. I just will never know. But I made a video basically because I wanted to talk about the guy, but I didn't really want to insult him. So I made a video pretty much praising him and all the ridiculous stuff that he does on his channel. But I still had people coming in. And I at the end of it, I was like, I want an interview with this guy. So I told my fans that you guys go tweet him and say, get an interview with him. That was my biggest mistake I made, because he then blocked me on Twitter. And then he made some video talking about to the new people on this channel. And I was getting like people commenting on my videos being like, fuck you, how dare you attack Pete and stuff like that. And what's so weird about it is that, like, you know, that was the first time I probably realized, I was like, oh shit, I need to be really, really careful with with how I direct my audience and stuff, because like, you know, people might misinterpret things, and like there's like, you have to be careful with like what you say online, and I've never really experienced that before.
Commentary is scary, dude.